Hello, my name is Blake Melton, and today I'm going to be talking about the severity of spinal cord injuries in teenagers. Imagine being a teenager with your whole life ahead of you, only to have it change in an instant due to preventable accidents. Every year, teenagers face life altering injuries from reckless accidents, many of which result in spinal cord injuries that can leave them paralyzed for life. Today, I will persuade you to recognize the severity of spinal cord injuries in teenagers caused by careless accidents and to take action to prevent these tragedies. As someone who's experienced the devastating impact of accidents, I understand how critical it is to address this issue and work towards prevention. Today, I will explain the causes and consequences of spinal cord injuries in teenagers, the urgency for action, and present practical steps we can take to prevent these tragedies. First, what is a spinal cord injury? A spinal cord injury happens when the spinal cord gets disrupted through a break or fracture in your spine, causing inflammation or blood to build up and clog the signals your brain is sending. Once this damage is there, it's up to your body to heal it on its own, and sometimes that doesn't happen, which is where the paralysis comes. The spinal cord is kind of like a piece of taffy. It's where you push it in, it doesn't really come back out. So there's no surgery you can go in to kind of open that up and clear that out. It's got to just happen on its own. Your brain has to find new ways to send those signals down to the rest of your body. Every year, thousands of teenagers experience these life-changing injuries due to super preventable accidents. The primary cause for spinal cord injuries are car accidents, particularly due to reckless driving or distracted driving. That's the leading cause of spinal cord injuries. Sports injuries and falls, especially due to risky activities, also contribute significantly to spinal cord injuries in teens. Now that we've established the severity and causes of spinal cord injuries, let's look at why immediate action is necessary. Teenagers, particularly new drivers, are at much higher risk of accidents, as their inexperience and impulsiveness often lead to dangerous behavior. According to the CDC, teen drivers are 4 times more likely to be involved in accidents rather than adults, not students. The impact of these injuries extends beyond the teenager, affecting families emotionally and financially. Rehabilitation and long term care for spinal cord injuries are often expensive and often a financial burden for families. Given the growing number of accidents, it's clear we need to take immediate action to prevent these tragedies. Personally, with my accident, I spent about 3 months at the Shepherd Center in Atlanta. This was a super cool and fun experience for me, although it was in a pretty bad situation, but it did cost a lot of money, and I had to have my mom come stay with me for a couple of months while she took off of work. So that wasn't easy for her. How can we prevent these tragedies? Well, there's a couple of ways I have in mind. The first thing we can do is to raise awareness and educate teenagers. We need to implement stronger educational campaigns about the risks of distracted driving and the importance of safe driving. When I was in school, I had classes and I always heard don't drink and drive, but that wasn't enough to stop me from getting into my accident. On the other percentage of injuries, schools and communities play a vital role in spreading awareness and provide training on the importance of safety in sports and encourage students to be more aware of protecting their spine. Safety measures in sports are also a huge factor to this. Making sure that teenagers wear protective gear in high risk sports can significantly reduce the chances of spinal cord injuries. Also, promoting safe and supervised practices during these sports, especially contact sports. I played hockey for 18 years, ice hockey. It's a pretty physical sport, same with things like football or any fighting sport. And a poorly delivered hit could ruin a person's life. So in hockey, you are definitely taught don't hit someone in the back, but I feel like it's not. It is enforced, but people don't really take it super seriously. And you see someone you're angry at, sometimes they would go and hit them from the back, which is just not okay. Another thing we can do is take legislative action. We must push for stronger legislation to enforce safer driving practices, such as laws on texting and driving or stricter seatbelt regulations. I have far too many friends who don't wear their seatbelt or text while driving. I don't think they'll ever really get punished for it. So, unfortunately, that's just how it is, and they won't recognize that until they get into their first accident. Another thing is to increase funding for injury prevention programs and safer infrastructure. Around Leesburg, I don't really find too much of a problem, but places like Atlanta, the roads definitely aren't super nice and their little curb cuts aren't super great. Which I guess that's not to do with driving, but it's definitely around here there's some corners you can't see around, and again, that could lead to someone being paralyzed for life. So, to conclude, let's summarize the critical points we've covered. Um, in conclusion, spinal cord injuries in teenagers are a preventable tragedy that requires immediate action. Today, we've discussed the severe consequences of injuries, including their causes and impacts on teens and their families. We've also looked at practical steps, education, safety measures, and legislative action that we can take to reduce these injuries. Together, we can protect the future of our youth by taking action now. Let's not wait till another preventable accident happens. It's time to take action and protect our teenagers from these life altering injuries. Thank you, everyone, for your time. The end.